Hi everybody, my name is Jill Wrighton and my husband and I have been coming along to Southside for over 20 years since the church was at Doonfoot. We've got two children, Jonathan who's 24 and is back living at home with us after he's finished his studies and he's applying for different jobs, and Chloe who is 23 and she's also back home the last couple of weeks after having completed a wee year down in Hereford studying with her church. So, what have I got to share with you today? Well, I wanted to share something with you that God has been speaking to me about, and that's doors. Yeah, doors. You see, doors are very important to a person like myself who suffers anxiety in certain situations, because I always want to know where they are and how to get out of some of them sometimes. But God's been kind of speaking to me very clearly through the subject of doors over this last couple of months, because they've featured very highly in my experience of the last couple of months. I was involved in a car accident when somebody drove as part of a police chase past my car and caught my car doors and wrote my car off, basically. And as a receptionist in the health clinic that I work in, I am basically the doorkeeper, because as so many of you know, that the GP surgeries and health clinics have been locked, but if you've got an appointment under certain circumstances, you are allowed to come in. So in our health centre, how it works is that the clinician would meet you at the door in their PPE and invite you into the wee hallway bit and ask you some more questions about your exposure to the virus. And if you kind of pass those questions, you'd be allowed to go back deeper into clinic and be seen for whatever reason that you were there for. And I felt God at the beginning challenged me or reminding me again of something that I know, but he was just reminding me again that, Jill, you're not only in control of the door of the clinic, but you're also in control of the door of your mind, and you are in control about what you allow in. You can allow anxiety thoughts or rubbish into your mind, but really what you should do is that you should go to the door of your mind, keep it closed, go to the door and just go in the PPE, as it were, of God's word, and just challenge the thought at the door and just ask it, where have you come from? Is it from God or is it from my own thinking? And if it's from God and it's okay, then allow that, and it can kind of come and take root in my inner being. And related to that is obviously the verse that we're told in 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5 about demolishing arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and then we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And we're instructed in Philippians 4 as well to think about things that are noble and true and trustworthy. So I would just encourage all of you, just like me, that when those thoughts come to your door about anxiety, about the future, or worry if you've lost your job or you're going through some kind of health crisis, just challenge the thoughts that are coming and just ask them, is the actual thought from God, or what does God say about this particular situation from his word? And as time went on, God continued to speak to me through the doors that I would come across. As I and my husband, we would be going out doing deliveries. Andy's a home delivery driver, and I was doing some deliveries as part of my role at work as well. So we would obviously be coming to closed doors, and you'd be pressing the doorbell, and then you'd be standing back and socially distancing, and sometimes the door would open and the person would be standing talking to you at a distance, or sometimes the door would just open a wee bit. And it was just a reminder to me that quite often we come to doors in our lives that it might be the right door, but it's not quite the right time to go in through that door. And I felt God speaking to me very clearly over the last couple of months, because I've been frustrated about a situation, and God's just reminded me that yep, you've come to the right door, but it's just not quite the right time to go through completely into that bit yet. So, and then it's funny, God just speaks to me through pictures. I can't do words, as you probably can already tell with all my ums and ahs and hesitations, but he kind of reminded me as I was thinking about the doors being open again now, and we can go through into the different premises that we're allowed to, and we have to follow the signs around the buildings, or single file and keep your distance, and just follow the signs on the floor. And they're all meant for our protection, as like wearing masks. They're all meant for our protection, and if we follow those rules, then we are protected to a certain degree of our exposure to the virus. And so God was just reminding me that when I process through an open door that He has placed in front of me, or any door like disappointment or grief or anything, when I walk through that door, I have to follow the signs that He has put out for me, because if I try and, for instance, go up an aisle like in the supermarket that I'm not supposed to, it just causes confusion for everybody else and myself. But if I follow the way He's marked out for me, and I follow His signs, then I do get to my destination, and there isn't any confusion. I do get there, and I get there safely. So those were kind of my thoughts about what God has been speaking to me about. And He also directed me back to a verse that I really have never been able to understand. I thought it was like an old-fashioned verse because I was associating it with one of the old hymns, but it's found in Psalm 24 verse 7, and it says, "Lift up your heads, O you gates, be lifted up, you ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in." And I never could understand what it was all about, that verse, until somebody pointed out to me that the gate isn't one of these swing open like that gates. It's like a portcullis, and the gate is lifted up this way to let whoever it is come through. And the gate is lifted up from the head. And I just was reminded then that if I use my head to I'll use my mind to let King Jesus into the hallway of my mind, as it were, then when He's standing there in the hallway through the gate, everything else just gets obliterated, because in the presence of Jesus, everything else just falls away. So that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. Open up the gates or the doors of your mind, or to let Jesus in, or just as you go through the doors that you're about to go through this week or even today, just follow the signs that Jesus has already placed out for you. So that's my take 10. Thanks for listening.